All right, we're bringing you some breaking news now. A statement that has come out from GQG Partners, a large investor in the Adani Group companies. And this is their statement after US DOJ as well as SEC related statements have been coming in over the last few days regarding Adani Group as well as some of the people who were involved in there. The statement very clearly says that individuals have been indicted. It's not a company-wide issue. As far as an investor point of view is concerned, GQG investors believe that the original thesis of this investment remains strong and that the fundamentals of all of these companies are strong. Now, specific to the indictment itself, GQG has made certain observations. They've said that the FCPA-related Foreign Corruption Practices Act-related indictments have been coming in across various well-reputed companies. In fact, some of the companies that they've named include Walmart, Oracle, Thales, Siemens, Glencore, Petrobras, Pfizer, Toyota. All of these companies have seen similar sort of indictments, is what GQG Partners is pointing out. Typically, these investigations take years, and the end result is a much reduced fine or penalty that comes out. Another point to remember here is that this investigation is coming at a time when the US government itself is in a period of transition. So once the Trump administration comes in, we'll have to see how they proceed with the investigation, how they proceed with this case. That's what GQG Partners is pointing out. They're saying as far as their own assessment is concerned, GQG Partners believe that the original thesis remains strong. Fundamentals of the companies have not really changed at all, especially Adani Group companies where GQG Partners is saying that they do not need to raise any funds at this point in time. And even if they do at a later stage, that doesn't seem like a difficult challenge. These are statements coming from GQG Partners about Adani Group companies where the investor has put in considerable amount of funds.
Right, Vishwanath.
All right, we have Mr. Chakri Lokpriya on the phone line joining us. Mr. Lokpriya, welcome to this conversation. I just wanted to get a sense as to what you are seeing in terms of one of the biggest investors in Adani Group showing a lot of confidence in the group's financials as well as their practices.
Good afternoon. It's good that GQG has kind of reiterated what has been the stand that we've also believed, that it is a non-case. Adani Ports, for instance, has a very big funding with the International Development Finance. And before that, obviously, there would have been a large amount of checks into the various Adani fundings. And so given all this, I think it is Adani Group of companies are on a strong wicket, and it's probably a bunch of baseless claims, which in any case will take years to solve, if any.
One question I had was with regard to the way that they're pointing out, GQG Partners is pointing out that this is coming at a period of transition for the US government in itself. Do you think that has a bearing at all?
Indeed, that has a bearing because, usually the outgoing governments usually do not take any significant actions. But in this case, it is rather surprising. And that person who has investigated the action is most likely to be changed under the new administration as it comes in. So, which means it also now will depend upon the new appointee view of the situation, which could turn out to be a completely different and a positive thing for Adani Group as well.
Let me also ask you one point that they've mentioned is that, these FCPA investigations have taken place in other, large global names. They've named Walmart, Oracle, Toyota. I just wanted to get your view. What is the value of an FCPA indictment as such?
Right now, as it stands, it's not even a case. It is a charge, and a trial jury has to be formed. There are any number of steps that have to be taken for it even before it becomes a case. So this is not even there. And once it does indeed then become cases like Walmart and other companies, it takes many years of claims and counterclaims for it to actually come to a fruition. So from that perspective, this is not yet a claim.
All right, Ms. Lokpriya, thank you so much. I'll pass it on to my colleague who's standing by right now.
Yeah, thanks, Vishy. Now, after that breaking, now we'll stay with the breaking, Vishy. Now, I think we're also joined, we're being joined by more guests on this breaking. So I would like you to speak a little bit more for our viewers to make them understand what exactly is the story about.
Right. So what has come out now, and as Mr. Lokpriya was talking about, various statements that are coming in from GQG Partners. Essentially, what they're saying is that they believe Adani Group companies and their financials remain sound, that they do not have any need to worry at this point in time. The statement clarifies that there is going to be, it's likely that this indictment case will last for a few years, and that the outcome may not be what a lot of people seem to be looking at. In fact, a lot of prominent companies across the world have been similarly indicted, and the outcome of all of that has not been material. In fact, GQG Partners believes that the original thesis that they had when they invested in Adani Group companies remains sound, and that going ahead they do not see any financial issues as such coming in to these group companies. In any case, all these indictments are happening at a time when the US government in itself is going through an entire a period of transition. The Trump administration is going to take over in January, and once they do take over, that's when you will see some of these investigations, and we'll know what exactly the government intends to do with these kind of cases. Typically, there is not much weightage given to an outgoing government or administration putting out a case. So we need to see what exactly happens with the Trump administration. But at this stage, GQG Partners placing a lot of confidence in the Adani Group companies. They're stating very, very clearly that they do not see anything material coming out of this at this point in time, but they're still in a wait and watch mode.
Also, Vishy, if you could just tell me that what does this mean for the company, for the business per se?
Right. So Himakshi, at this stage, according to the statement that has been given out by GQG Partners, they do not believe that these companies will need to go ahead and raise any funds. They have adequate funds at this point in time. Even if they need funds, they believe that there are plenty of avenues available, especially domestic banks, which will continue to fund them. They don't believe that there's going to be any material issues in any of the invested companies. So that is likely to continue. I have with me Tamanna Inamdar on the phone line. Tamanna, you've happened to read the statement that has been put out by GQG Partners. I just wanted to get a view from you. How do you see this going ahead?
This is the statement that the street was waiting for, Vishy, because GQG has been an investor and a very astute investor who has backed his own investments in the Adani Group right from the events of Hindenburg onwards, and continues to do so. So his take on what is happening right now was crucial. And if you look carefully on what he is saying in this note to clients and why GQG is backing Adani Group, he makes it clear, and I'll just break it down to 4 to 5 points. Number one, the indictment is on specific employees, not the company. The allegations, he goes on to say, are against AGEL, not the entire group. So it's just one company, Adani Green Enterprise Limited, not all group companies. He also says that other global companies like Airbus, Pfizer, Walmart, in fact, there's a whole list of them that have faced similar allegations in the past. And I'll actually read that point out. He says, while the allegations are serious, there are many examples of global companies and their executives who have faced significant government action, including Foreign Corrupt Practices Act violations. Some notable examples include Walmart, Oracle, Thales, Siemens, Glencore, Petrobras, Pfizer, Toyota, Honeywell, Airbus, and SAP. These actions and investigations typically take years to resolve and may yield reduced penalties or fines. The companies continue to operate in the interim, looking to improve their business practices and moving the business forward. But I think most importantly is point 3 and 4, where he talks about what does this mean from a legal perspective. One is, he says that this indictment is happening during a period of transition for the U.S. federal government, which means the case will likely continue under a new Justice Department appointed by the Trump administration. What that sort of smacks off, or the underlying message there is that perhaps this action could have been in part politically motivated, and now that the politics in the US are changing, you could be seeing a different direction in which this case goes. He also goes on to say, we feel the Indian government will maintain its support for Gautam Adani as he is the most important infrastructure developer in the country by order of magnitude. So they have gone ahead and given very clear reasons for why they have backed this, and I think that becomes very, very crucial.
Right, Tamanna. So the other point that I wanted to highlight in this is the specific nature of GQG Partners investments and their conviction in the investment itself. They believe that the original thesis doesn't seem to have changed. That they believe that the companies will continue to perform the way that GQG Partners had originally anticipated when placing these funds. So, how do you see this?
So I think I would say one important point of what they are saying, and I'm quoting over here, because they are explaining about whether they will change any of their investments, right? At the end of the day, you have to put your money where your mouth is. So they say, and I quote, as we do with other holdings, our team continues to do research and reassess the situation. But as of now, we have not changed our view on the prospects for these investments. That may change as new information becomes available. I think this is that one line which actually makes it very clear what they're trying to say, that as of now, they've not changed their view on any of their assessments, which as of today holds about 5% of their total portfolio.
Right. Tamanna, some of the other, names that you had mentioned earlier with regard to, similar indictments coming in, and there again, what they've repeatedly said is that companies have continued to function strongly. The companies have continued to sort of function strongly, that they go ahead and tighten any process issues if they have any. How do as a person who's seeing this from the outside, to your mind, how would you explain GQG's viewpoint here?
So GQG's viewpoint is very important, Rishi, because at the end of the day, this is a prime investor. All right, so look at the context,
right,
because they start by talking about their exposure. As of Tuesday, 19th November, the day before this news broke, their total exposure was $9.7 billion, which is about 6.1% of their assets. Now, of course, after the hit by stocks, and this note is out on 21st November, remember, so there has been a fair recovery in the stock prices since then. But as of 21st November, their total exposure was $8.1 billion, which is 5.2% of total assets.
Right, Tamanna. I have our guest with us right now, Vineet Bulanshkar. Vineet, welcome to this conversation. I just, Tamanna and I were just discussing the points that have been mentioned by GQG Partners in their memo to investors. They're specifying that they do not believe there's going to be any material impact on any of the Adani Group companies. I hope you've had a chance to look at it, but if you can throw some light as to how you're viewing this.
So see, what they have said in their newsletter is that the fines, if implicated, can be on individuals or on the company, number one. Number two, this matter will obviously be taken up by the Trump judges appointed during the Trump regime. Three, they've said that this matter can get dragged up very long. Fourth, what they have mentioned is that the company will be restricted from raising foreign capital because of the indictment being under judicial probe. But however, they will not be restricted from accessing Indian banks, right?
Right.
Fifth, they pointed out that there is no correlation with the Hindenburg and these current allegations.
Correct.
And sixth, which is most important, is that it involves only Adani Green and not the other companies. And the next thing is that, none of the companies are looking to raise capital at this current point in time. So that's very, very, very healthy. And I've been maintaining that the company has raised capital for most of its, requirements over the long term. So if at all they need, it'll be only debt.
Right.
And, if the foreign capital is not available, definitely Indian capital will be available. Domestic banks will lend to them. And we don't foresee any kind of problems in raising capital from additional banks. Just in case, you look at the scenario where they do not get funds, for example. Then the company has the available, the company has the levers to slow down growth a bit. And, whenever they slow down growth, what is going to happen is that their repayments are going to hasten up. And with that, the fundamentals of the company get very strong. Already, when the Hindenburg hit, from 3.5, they came down to 2.5 times debt to EBITDA. And if you slow them down even further, the growth is locked in. It's not going to impact the growth in the near term. And it will come down to, like less than 2 times EBITDA.
Right.
So all in all, worst is built into price. At the most that can happen is that, these things can be settled by paying fines also. Apart from that, there is no money trail established so far. Okay. There are only charges against and allegations against the company.
Right.
And so to that extent, I believe that there is a very good chance that they could be exonerated. And given all these facts, I think one should be buying into these stocks, notwithstanding the fact that the indictment still hangs like a sword on the company.
All right, Vineet, just hold on for a second. I have with me Sanjay Asher from Crawford & Bailey. Mr. Asher, just wanted to get your view specifically on the lines mentioned by GQG Partners around the FCPA indictments. Now, they've said that, a lot of large global companies in the past have faced similar allegations. Typically, these cases take years and years to come to any kind of outcome, and the final outcome ends up being a meager fine or some kind of penalty. Just wanted to get your view on this, Mr. Asher.
No, whatever the investor has written is correct. Yes, these such matters are subject to settlement and do get settled. It's a process. Any process does take some time. And there are ways and means to expedite the process as well. And therefore, what the investor is stating in relation to the settlement is correct. GQG, whatever it has stated, is absolutely correct. And it is also correct that large MNCs in the past, of the reasons I will not name those MNCs, have gone to DOJ as also to SEC for the purpose of settling the FCPA allegation.
Right. Mr. Asher, you said you won't mention those names, but these names are mentioned in the GQG Partners letter, so I'm just going to read it out for the benefit of our viewers. They've named companies like Walmart, Oracle, Thales, Siemens, Glencore, Petrobras, Pfizer, Toyota, Honeywell, Airbus, as well as SAP. All of these companies that they've named, repeatedly, they've said very clearly the actions and investigations typically take years to resolve and may yield reduced penalties or fines. The companies continue to operate in the interim, looking to improve their business practices and moving their business forward. In terms of the language that they are using here, they seem to be showing a lot of sort of backing of the investments that they've placed. 5% of their portfolio at this point in time rests with Adani Group companies. They've said that they don't believe that the original thesis has changed. They believe the company's fundamentals remain strong. How do you view this, as far as these companies are concerned?
As available in the financial statements of these entities, yes, their gross block is strong enough. They have assets. They have brick and mortar assets and other assets for the purposes of their growth or for the purpose of their borrowing. So having regard to the facts and circumstances and having regard to their financial position, I don't foresee an issue for two things. One is raising further debt, and two, for the purpose of their growth or for the purpose of satisfying their investors.
Okay. Vineet, I want to bring you in. GQG has mentioned this as well as Mr. Asher just said. Fundraising is not really an issue as far as Adani Group companies are concerned. You've said earlier that at best they will need some amount of debt and that the domestic banks are more than capable of providing. If you can just expand on that a little bit.
What is the criteria for accessing foreign debt? It is primarily to get long-term debt. and Adani deals in projects which have got 25-year cash flows. Their cash flow accrue over 25 years, and investments have to be made upfront because these are all infrastructure projects. Now, what happens is that the company, typically in India, we do not have deep markets, and they were looking to go to the US market so that, if they could get one bond deal done, then, raising the very long tenure bonds would have been very easy, and then asset liabilities can be matched at the present time itself. Now, if they were to get funding from domestic banks, what they will need to do is actually roll over their debt. So they'll have to do a little bit of financial engineering in the sense that they will have to borrow for the short term and roll the debt going ahead. So when we say short term, it's still 5 to 7 years at the minimum, and so there is no undue concern with regards to that.
Okay. I also have Niraj Shah of NDTV Profit. Vineet and Sanjay, please do hold back. Niraj, your first sort of takeaways from this memo that's come from GQG Partners.
Vishy, there are 2 or 3 things which stand out, right? For me, at least. One, I think something that both Sanjay and spoke about, that many companies have these allegations. Even Indian companies have had not similar allegations, but allegations like this in the past as well, and they eventually lead to a settlement. And I think one of the things that they have mentioned, which in their memo, is that they have said that as the facts stand today, we believe that these companies will keep operating even if individuals receive fines or sanctions. So in some sense, GQG has laid out its hand about how it thinks about this. They also say that we believe these companies will keep operating and the fundamentals remain sound. So that is part 2. And they've also said that as investors in broad area of companies, we believe that the fundamentals are sound and we will continue to research, etc.
Right, Niraj.
Yeah.
Mr. Asher, I just want to bring you in this conversation as well. When you are looking at the kind of backing that a large investor poses into companies like this at a time like this, how do you explain how do you view firstly that confidence and to your mind, I know you're not really an investor, not really an advisor to investors, but how would you explain this to somebody who's probably watching this and trying to make head or tail of what the situation is?
True, the investor or whoever is watching it has to look at all the facts and circumstances, has to look at the precedent as to what has happened in similar circumstances or similar situations vis-a-vis the MNC or vis-a-vis that American entity and the DOJ and SEC and FCPA allegations or FCPA allegations. And based on that, if in the past there has been a settlement, so they can calculate and they can look at the settlement scheme as to what could be the fine, if at all, on the Adani Group of entities. And then take a view, okay, yes, if there is a charge or if there is an allocation of 250 million, what could be the number at which the Adani Group could settle this vis-a-vis DOJ and vis-a-vis SEC? And then take a view, okay, yes, there would be a cash outflow of, say, 1,000 crores, for example. Okay? Right. Do they have that much free cash flow of 1,000 crores? And then take a view on their investment.